Ladies and gentlemen, Profit with Profit here, my very first YouTube video. Don't have crazy high hopes for this, but gotta start somewhere, right? Just like everyone else on this platform. Hoping to make a few people some money on here. That'd be the best outcome. We got a sort of good card here, Kansas City. There's some low key bangers in here. Um, this is gonna be my early prediction video. No bets yet. Later in the week, once things start getting finalized, weigh-ins, stuff like that, we'll start going for final picks and then bets. But right now, it's just going to be really early leans and mini analysis of the fights. Um, Not going to do huge deep dives into these fights right now, just because again, it's Sunday, and we'll see if any other people pull out. We've had some already, and if anything big changes, that's when we'll do the final video with the, like I said, last predictions and bets. But let's jump into this card. We got Jocelyn Edwards taking on Chelsea Chandler. There's not too much for me to say on this fight. Edwards is a good striking kickboxer. She knows how to keep the range. She doesn't have too much power, but she knows how to win the judges over. She knows how to throw something out there. She knows how to just keep the activity level up there. It's going to be a point battle here for her, like she always does. She's not really a, brawl and look for the finish type. She's more like, let's get this 30-27. Let's get this 29-28. Chandler, on the other hand, she's more of a, get in your face, hold you against the cage, see if I can get some takedowns. She has more power. Like, she hits harder for sure, but her striking just, it is, I just can't back it at all. And I think I'd probably favor any woman right now to outstrike Chelsea Chandler. Okay, let me stop trolling. Her striking is just, it's levels below Edwards' striking. And I'm never gonna pick Chelsea Chandler after I saw this Norma Dumont fight. If you guys saw that, I think that might be the first and only time we'll ever see a UFC fighter completely sprint away from the other opponent. She completely turned her head away and ran away. It was just so weird to me to see a UFC fighter just sprint away. And ever since I saw that, I was like, I'll never bet on you. Just I thought she was gonna get cut after that, but whatever, UFC, they're weird with the cuts, they're weird with the keeps, but early lean is gonna be Edwards here. I think she'll manage to keep the distance, throw strikes out there, just win the judges over in the strike count. I don't see Chandler getting takedowns here. I definitely see Chandler at some point just rushing in, trying to hold Edwards against the cage. She might even get a takedown here or there, but I don't think it's going to be one of these. Every time she shoots, she's going to have success. And I don't think she has the cardio either to just shoot, 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 shoot. I think it's going to be Edwards in a 29-28, maybe 30-27. Um, but like I said, just Edwards, stay at the distance, throw out the jab, throw out the kicks, take your easy decision. She's not the type to put herself in danger. Her wrestling defense has gotten better, and I think this is just an easy decision for Edwards here. Shouldn't be anything else really that happens. Next fight, we got Timmy Kawamba versus Roberto Romero. And like I said, there's a couple hidden bangers in this card, guys, and this is one of them for sure. Without a doubt, this is one of those hidden bangers. Roberto Romero, this is going to be his second fight in the UFC. His first fight, he fought David Onama on short notice, +8, 900 underdog. Goes out there and drops Onama in the first round. And then the next two rounds, he held his own. He lost those next two rounds, definitely. Like, Onama did come back. He pulled that shit out. He went back in there and he got those next two rounds. But Roberto Romero just exceeded everyone's expectations in that fight. Anyone that knew about him, they exceeded the expectations. And I think this is a good matchup for him right here. I really do. Timmy Kawamba, his last fight, Lucas Almeida, he got dropped early, and he really was on the edge of that fight, getting stopped in the first round. But he he fought back too in those next two rounds. He still lost the fight for sure. Like, a lot of people thought that maybe Kawamba edged out the next two, but no, Almeida got that win. But Timmy showed heart there. That's what I'm trying to get back to here. Timmy showed heart in that fight. He didn't quit on himself even after getting dropped multiple times. And I think this is going to be a fight where they both are just going to kind of have a gentleman's agreement. Hey, let's stand, let's bang, let's see what happens here. I really, if I had to absolutely pick my favorite position in the side, it's going to be the under on these rounds. But lines aren't out quite yet. But if I had to take anything, like I said, fight not to go the distance, under 2.5. Either of those are going to be my first confident early lean. But I like Romero here, guys. I think he has a little more power than Kawamba. And something that I saw in that last fight with Kawamba, even though he showed the grit, was his striking defense is kind of just leaves a lot to be desired. He'll throw and his chin is just up there. He'll kind of get a little reckless, and I know a lot of people have that tendency to get a little reckless, but his chin was up there, and that's why Lucas Almeida kept finding it. He leaving his chin up there, and it was, you know, in boxing distance too. You know, he wasn't like shooting away. He was just right there with his chin up. And I think Romero, he wants this next fight. He shows that he has power, and I think dropping Onama and having a close fight with him, and now going to Timmy Kawamba, this is your chance to go out there and show like, hey man, that wasn't a fluke against Onama. You know, that wasn't a lucky dropped him. I think Romero's gonna have a legitimate chance to go out there and knock out Timmy Kawamba. I don't see too much on the ground happening here. Neither of them that's their strong suit. I favor Romero a tad in the ground game, but like I said, I think this is going to be one of those, hey, let's stand, let's throw some strikes, and I think Romero is going to catch Kawamba at some point. Like I said, favorite thing is going to be the under on this fight, but I'm gonna side with Romero in this one. Next fight, we got Polyana Viana versus Jacqueline. I'm not going to pronounce her name right now. Amarin. I love how I said that and then I pronounce it, but this fight, I can't confidently sit here and give you guys an analysis over Viana when 90% of her time right now is into OnlyFans. And everyone knows that. Everyone's seen that she's talked and promoted about OnlyFans. And I don't even know if she's training anymore. Is she training? Is she in the gym? All right, let me digress. Jacqueline Amarim, as long as she keeps her cardio in check here, should finish Polyana Viana, or at least 30-27 in her last two performances. Viana, she's looked terrible against Jillian Robertson. She's looked terrible against Lucindo. She beat Junhoo Frey. It's like, get in line. Who hasn't? And then Tabitha Ricci, which is, you know, you can't bag her too much for that loss. But Jillian Robertson? Really? Like, I get it. She's been doing okay, but man, Viana, her priorities are all over the place. And now she's going to fight the number 17 ranked Amarin, who just submitted Demopolis, beat Corey McKenna. Ruiz is an okay win. Sam Hughes, 2 years ago, though. And Sam Hughes, you've seen what Sam Hughes has been doing. She's been killing prospects. I think Amarin here gets either the submission or I think she gets a decision. But either way, there's no way I could bet Viana in this fight. The over might be interesting just because, you know, it's women's MMA, might be able to survive long enough. But this is one of those fights. This is going to be the quickest summary fight I have on this whole card because there's just not much to talk about. Viana, like I said, her priorities aren't straight. She's worried about all this other shit. Amarin, she's locked in right now. I think she's trying to chase those rankings. She's number 17 right now. So give me Amarin by literally whatever she wants, I guess. Terrible breakdown, I know, but I'm not going to give time to Viana. Next fight. This one, man. This might be my favorite fight on the entire card. You got Cameron Simon versus Malcolm Wellmaker. Wellmaker looked really good on his debut. There were some flaws that I saw, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we got Cameron Simon coming off of his loss to Peyton Talbot. And I think it was the second round. He got dropped too many times. He just couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't out, but, you know, he was coming up off. He was zombified, basically. And I got to go Simon here, guys. I really do. A lot of people think his hype is just dead after his past two losses, but, I mean, he's fighting good guys. Like Peyton Talbot, we all saw what happened in his last fight, but his wrestling got exposed. He's got some of the cleanest striking in the bantamweight division. And then he lost to C-Rod. Like, you can't bag on him for either of those. Then he knocked out Terrence Mitchell. He beat Manny Martinez, Steven Kozlow. These are okay wins. Like I said, those aren't anything to write home about, but how he looked in those fights is what I want to talk about. Cameron Simon is still that guy. I don't want anyone saying, man, he just got exposed. He's not anything what we thought he was going to be. Cameron Simon's still that guy. I think he has all of the skills to beat Wellmaker, and I think he's also just the better overall fighter than Malcolm Wellmaker. I think people get carried away when they see this guy come off the Contender Series and it's a KO, and it's like, you guys still have to realize they're on the Contender Series fighting guys that are coming off the regional scene too. And Wellmaker, yes, he got the finish in that fight and he looked good doing so, but I saw lots of holes in his game. I saw some of his hooks and strikes, he's way out here with it. And I think Simon, one of his things that I like about him is everything's tight. If you watch Simon fight, he's tight. When he gets a little bit reckless is when he gets frustrated. But for the most part, when he's in the fight, those first couple of rounds, when he's locked in, he's locked in. Everything's tight. Everything's coordinated. And I think Wellmaker, he might have a little bit of a, hey, man, I need to go out there and knock him out because that's what the hype's about right now. And if he comes out there against Simon, I think Simon's going to catch him. Yes, Simon has a little less power than Wellmaker, but like I said, the difference maker in this fight, I think, is going to be just the intangibles and just the overall boxing, the coordination. I think Simon has all of that. Wellmaker, of course, has a chance to win this fight. He's the favorite right now. I think, like I said, he has a little more power. So if Simon gets reckless or he decides to just stand in there and, swing on with him, I think that's Malcolm's best way to win this. But I think grappling-wise, Simon's better. And I think just overall striking as a whole, Simon's put together better. I think the odds reflect recency bias, which, that's how odds usually work. Wellmaker undefeated, coming off a big win, and then Simon 2 losses. But I think people are counting Simon out way too early. I mean, the guy's 24 years old, right? Wellmaker, 30. He's not old, still fighting prime. But both these, Simon's not like this older guy and starting to regress. He's 24 years old. And I think he's just the overall better fighter, in my opinion. I think his striking's cleaner, wrestling's cleaner. I know I'm repeating myself here, but I think the hype right now on Wellmaker just is a little too much. And at plus 110, I got to take Simon. He's going to be in some of those bets, I promise you guys. As long as no one pulls out of this fight and nothing big happens, Simon's going to be in some bet slips. And I think he steals this one either by decision or a knockout. And yeah, that's my breakdown for this one. Next fight, we got Damon Blackshear versus Alatong Hae Lee. This is a good fight too, for as long as I think it'll last. This is another one of those fights where I think Blackshear just is better everywhere. I think his striking is better. I think his wrestling's better. And Alatong Hae Lee, he's a good fighter as well. He's not bad by any means, but guys, Blackshear, he's looked good everywhere in all of his fights. And yes, he had this rough patch against Montel Jackson where he gets clipped by a jab and knocked out. That was just, one of those shit happen moments. He lost to Mario Batista. Can't bag him too much. But then look at these other ones. Jose Johnson, Cody Stamann, Cody Gibson. And a lot of people gave him shit for that Cody Gibson fight because he was getting a little bit out-wrestled in that first round. But I don't think he was getting out-wrestled necessarily because Cody Gibson was just the better wrestler. I think it was more of like he was in shock that Gibson was coming at him like that. Like, if you guys watch that, the first round, Gibson pretty much went 100% into that first round, just selling out basically for the takedown and the submission. And you guys saw that in the next round. The next round, Cody Gibson was pretty gassed out, and Damon Blackshear, he was completely there. He was all there. And I feel like this is a setup fight for Blackshear to keep his train going, because this guy, he's a prospect. I know he's a little bit older, and I know he's got them losses on there, but I mean, truly, he's impressive when you go out there and watch him fight. His striking looks clean. His wrestling looks clean. And Alatong Hae Lee, I think he is a stepping stool for him right now. I think that's what the UFC is doing. I think they're throwing him out there because it's a guy with some experience, someone that'll give an entertaining fight. But I think Blackshear, wherever he wants this fight, he'll get it. And early lean is definitely going to be Blackshear. And I'm going to go submission here. Sorry guys, I know that breakdown right there was kind of meh, but it's just there's not too much for me to speak on that one. I'm not very impressed with Alatong Haley and Blackshear. When he puts things together, he looks pretty unstoppable. Next fight, we got Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. This is a rebooking. They were supposed to fight 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were supposed to fight, and originally, I was gonna pick John Castaneda, but the more I've looked into it, the more I've thought about Chris Gutierrez's ability to really manage distance. And this is a fight where, Castaneda, he's kind of a little bit of a mini pit bull in there. He wants to close distance. He wants to kind of strike a bit. I definitely see him throwing some wrestling out there against a guy like Chris Gutierrez, where his strengths are all in the striking and the kickboxing. But I think this is a fight. This is Gutierrez's fight to lose, in my opinion. And I know the odds don't reflect that, but I think if Gutierrez is able to stay on the feet, it shouldn't be that close on the feet unless Castaneda closes the distance and Gutierrez decides to not, move away or circle out of there. If he decides to stand there and bang with Castaneda, I think that's where he gets caught on the feet. That's like his only weakness on the feet is if he stands there and bangs, because power for power, Castaneda has the power. Wrestling, Castaneda has the wrestling, but like I said, Gutierrez, if he can kind of shrug it off, stay on the feet, not stay on the fence, I think this is his fight to win as far as, point fighting, getting the kicks out there, getting the jab out there. And my early lean is going to be Gutierrez. Castaneda definitely has ways to win this fight. Like I said, if he brawls with him or he shoots for takedowns and Gutierrez can't stop them, that's his way to win this. But I think my prediction right now, it's got to be Gutierrez by decision. Just learning, keeping his distance and throwing the jab and kicks out there. I think he'll get it done. Next fight, we got Evan Elder versus Gage Young. This is one of those rebookings I was referring to in the very beginning with why I was waiting until the final stuff dropped. And this happened like a day ago. Evan Elder was going to fight Hassan Zada, who came off the Contender Series, but man, he caught a case. All I read was something with a minor, and he's cut from the UFC already. So that's disgusting. But I'm just glad they were able to rebook it as far as, being a fight fan. Because Evan Elder, he kind of had a slow start to the UFC, but his next 2 wins, it's showing improvement. And I think this is a great fight for Evan Elder to keep that momentum going. I watched some tape on Gage Young. He's pretty good. He's good all around. Like, he's not like a wrestler and he's not a striker. He's a good overall fighter. I can't remember which fight was it that I watched. I think it was this Quillen fight. Yeah, that's the one I watched because I wanted to see his fight against the best competition. It was Quillen, and Quillen definitely won that fight, but Gage had some moments in there, and my bad guys. My brain's a little. I'm trying to remember the fight completely, but Gage, he it looked like he was a little bit nervous to get it going in that fight. But Quillen, we've all seen Quillen fight, and he's pretty good, dude. My prediction is just so bad right now, guys. I apologize. I'm not gonna cut this out, but Gage Young is coming off the regional scene essentially because he lost that Contender Series, and like I said, he does a bit of both, more striker, but oh my god, I'm ending this prediction because I'm going to lose my shit. I'm just all over the place in my brain right now because I can't remember his fight. I watched it, but I'm blanking, and I had notes on it, and all I remember is Evan Elder. He has the experience. He has the competition. I think he wins this fight. I think he might get a knockout here, or he might get a decision, but I think both of them are definitely going to lean on the striking here. Evan Elder has the better wrestling because Gage does favor his striking. But I think Evan Elder, the experience is going to show here. I think Gage might look a little bit out of water here because, this is very short notice. And same thing happened in his Contender Series fight. He looked a little bit out of water versus, his other performances where he's kind of, pedal to the gas, go, 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 go. Like I said, guys, this is my worst prediction ever on this whole video so far. I know that. And let's just move on to the next one because I need a reset. But Evan Elder is my pick. Next fight, we got Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. I think Matt Schnell, when I saw the early odds, yeah. Oh, wow, he's dropped. Wow. Matt Schnell was like minus 400 at one point, so money must be coming in on Jimmy Flick. I guess I understand it because of the way Matt Schnell's been looking in his past 3 fights. Like, he lost to Nicolau, then Urseg, and Cody Durden. But, I mean, these are top caliber guys. I mean, Durden is the worst of those, and when you name these 3 guys, if Cody Durden's the worst of them, then you're doing something right because he's fighting all high competition. Can't give him too much crap for that Urseg fight. And same thing with that Nicolau fight. He was winning that fight. When I was watching that, it looked like he was winning that fight until he got caught. Same thing with the Ursig fight. First round, he looked okay, and then he gets caught. And then, Brandon Royval, Sumar Darji. Again, it's a weird final fight, or last 5 fights for him. But Matt Schnell is a good fighter, guys. He's got the striking. He's got the wrestling-ish. He definitely thrives more in that striking world. But against Jimmy Flick, he should have every weapon to win this fight. Jimmy Flick isn't just this bum, but I think he's fallen off so much in his past couple fights. If you've watched Jimmy Flick fight in his last couple ones, he looks slower. I just can't pick Flick lately. When he was younger, he looked a lot better, but lately, like I said, he's slowed down quite a bit and just haven't been that impressed with him. Sorry, guys, this is another prediction where there's not too much for me to say on because I feel like Schnell is the much better fighter. It's just he's on the skid, and Jimmy Flick sort of skittish as well, but he has a win at least within the past year, while Schnell, it's been almost 3. But if you guys watch Matt Schnell, he's got all the tools to win this fight. He's got power. He's got real boxing. And I'm going to go Schnell. I think he gets this fight done by KO. I'm being honest. I think this is a KO fight for Schnell. Either KO or a decision. But money coming in on Jimmy Flick, I feel like, is only because of his odds. I think only people trying to get a stab at odds are the ones really betting Jimmy Flick here because I don't see anywhere that he's better than Schnell. Next fight, Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. You guys see the odds. And they make sense-ish. Aliskerov had a very bad loss in his last fight against Robert Whittaker, first-round knockout. But it's Robert Whittaker, and that was a ginormous step up in competition for him. I think the UFC was really just trying to figure out, is this guy really the next big thing? And, I'm not going to say he got fraud-checked at all because he fought Robert Whittaker, and I think the UFC almost fed him to Robert Whittaker rather than the other way around. And I think this fight is just another one of those hey, let's get him back on track. Let's slow down a little bit with the hype that we're trying to put around him, and let's give him somebody that, will hold their own a little bit. But Ikram's the pick. He's minus 600 for a reason. I think he's much better everywhere. I see this being kind of a take Andre down in the first round, sub him out in the first, or sub him out in the second. On the feet, I don't see Ikram really having a reason to be on the feet with Andre because I think that's the only way Andre can kind of stay in this fight is throwing hands and brawling a little bit. But Ikram's smart enough to know that if he takes Andre down, Andre's probably not going to get back up, and I think he'll sub Andre first, second round submission. It's going to be my early lean, and yeah, I think the odds are justifiable, and I think Ikram dominates this fight. Next fight. This is the second fight on the main card. First, the Ikram one was the opener on the main card. Should have mentioned that, my bad. We got Nicholas Dalby and Randy Brown. This is another really good fight. Like I was telling you guys in the beginning, lots of hidden bangers. Another one of those hidden bangers. Dalby, 40 years old, doesn't look like he's 40. His gas tank gets a little bit suspect at the end, but nowhere near where you're like, holy cow, man, can this guy breathe? He does not perform like he's 40 years old. He's one of those guys that just keeps on going. You know, he's made to be in there doing something, and the wheels have not fallen off for him. So if you guys are looking at that 48 years age mark and thinking, damn, how is this guy even fighting? That's why he's plus 170. You're completely wrong, because he's got all the tools to beat Randy Brown. He hits harder. He's got some good boxing to him. He's got good takedown defense. We saw that in his loss to Renat Fakhretdinov, which he won that fight. He did not lose that fight. Renat's been handed two crazy decisions now. And Nicholas Dalby has a serious chance to win this fight. And before I even talk about Randy right now, Dalby's going to be my pick for this fight. I'm just still on the edge about whether it's going to be straight money line or knockout. I think knockout might be a little bit greedy because of that, you know, the reach and the height difference. That could be an issue, but Dalby is going to put pressure on you from when the bell rings to when it ends. Dalby is in your face, and he's got genuine power. And I think Randy Brown has been less than impressive in his last couple fights. A lot of people were mad at this Brian Battle decision, and I thought Battle won it. I thought he edged it out. It was boring. It was disappointing to see Battle get a win like that after his past couple performances, because he's been dominating, looking like a savage. But he did what he had to do to edge that fight out. I think it was the right decision. But when I look back at that fight and I think about that fight and now Dalby's got the pressure of Brian Battle, except I don't think Dalby's going to be there on the fence with him, just holding him for dear life. I think Dalby's going to be on the cage looking to throw a hook, looking to throw an uppercut, looking to really hurt you. And Randy, I think in the first couple minutes is going to look like, dang, man, why did I ever bet Dalby? Or this is going to be a Randy Brown fight in the bag. And until Dalby is like, all right, now I kind of figuring out your tendencies. Now I want to put the pressure on. Then it's going to look real sketchy. There's definitely a path for Randy here, and that's staying on the outside, staying away from Dalby's power. Anytime he presses, you either, keep your hands up or are looking to escape immediately and stay on the outside of the cage. But the minute this fight enters that close quarters combat, I think Dalby is going to have serious power and serious intentions to put Randy out. And I can't bet Randy in a 15-minute fight where Dalby needs one shot to put him out, because I've seen Randy get a little bit sloppy before. I know he's crisp with his kickboxing, but I've seen him get carried away a little bit. I've seen him with his chin up a little bit. And when I think about where I want to put my money on this fight, do I want to put it on Randy Brown for 15 minutes of staying on the outside of the cage, 15 minutes of kicking his legs, kicking his body, throwing some jabs? Or do I want to take the stab at, in that 15 minutes, can Dalby catch him? I'm going to have to put my money on Dalby within those 15 minutes to catch him with something, And if Dalby wants to wrestle here, that might even be there too. Randy has good takedown defense, I'll admit. But I don't think Randy's going to deal with the pressure that well. Obviously, in the beginning, he might be able to scramble out of there. But once Dalby figures out those tendencies, I think he's going to put serious pressure on Randy. And he's going to catch him with something or hurt him at least and just make it an ugly fight, which I don't think Randy's going to thrive here. I think he thrives in those fights where it's a little bit more clean and both people are kind of, hey, let's keep our distance and, one of those strike for strikes. And I'm going to go Dalby early pick here. Knockout is going to be my pick right now. Don't know how I'm going to play it later, but if I had to go pick, I'm going to go Dalby by knockout. And the next fight we have Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. I think from all the picks I've done so far, this one I've been the most in between on. And there's a multitude of reasons. One of them being Abus's cardio. It has to be a factor when you're deciding on who you think wins this fight. In the first round, first 7.5 minutes, this guy looks top caliber. I mean, look at his last fight against Bruno Ferreira. That first round, he looked impeccable. Everyone was talking about he's training now at I don't think this is updated because I'm pretty sure he switched camps, or at least his gym. I forget. I'm trying to top team. I can't remember if it's American Top Team or I forget who. But he's working with people that they were talking about in the first in that fight, that he's working with some people that have really, really honed in on his grappling skills. And that fight showed he looked good on the ground. And yes, it's Bruno Ferreira, but Bruno Ferreira is not any type of slouch. He's good, and he's got a ground game as well. And Magomedov absolutely dominated him in that first round. And then the next 2 rounds came around. He looked good into the first early minutes of round 2, but that third round, end of second round, he looked gassed, and he couldn't keep his chin protected to save his life, truly. If Ferreira landed a couple more clean shots, or, maybe planned out a little bit better, I think he would have got Magomed out of there. He really was, he was wobbling everywhere. He looked like just completely gassed. And that is a big problem if you're fighting someone like Michel Pereira, who is pressure, 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 power, 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 crazy movements. And that's why I'm saying I'm just so in between this fight, because if Abus somehow fixes that cardio and he gets takedowns on Michel for the first 2 rounds, and then the third round, maybe that's where his cardio starts to go a little bit meh, I think he can win this fight just by decision. Or, the submission, I don't see the submission really, because Michel, he knows how to protect his neck. He struggles a little bit with getting up, and we saw that in the Fluffy fight. But on the feet, if Abus gets tired and it's on the feet and Michel still has a little bit of energy, I think he's going to do what Bruno Ferreira failed to do, and that's knock out Abus. And it's just tricky, man. They both have real paths to victory, and my biggest problem right now is when they're both at full cardio, I trust Abus a little bit more, because he knows when to get those takedowns. He knows when to get you when you're overextending, and Michel tends to overextend quite a bit. It's just a matter of that cardio. Will that cardio hold up? I'm going to go Abus, man. The other day I was thinking Michel, but in my final picks and prediction video, I'll recap this again, obviously, and see if my mind changes. But for right now, I think Abus can get those takedowns. I think if his team is smart and he's smart, he'll fix some of those mistakes in that Bruno fight where he was leaving his chin up there and, just putting himself in harm's way. But for now, I'm going to bet on Abus to get those takedowns, secure at least 2 rounds, and win a gritty decision. That third round is going to be sketchy. But right now I'm going to go early pick Abus by decision. And then we move on to the third final fight, and that's Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. I'm going Giga here, guys. I know everything I've been seeing lately, everyone's on Onama because Giga's the layoff, and kind of, you can see some regressions in his game lately from the prime Giga that we all know. But, oh man. No, I'm pig flipping. I'm doing David Onama. I had to rethink about it. I've been on Giga, but I got to rethink this. Onama, he had that sketchy, like I just told you guys, against Roberto. And I think, like I said, Roberto, I think he just got a little bit, carried away. Onama did with, like, man, I'm going to roll over this guy and do what I want. Because he got a little sloppy. That's why I got caught. But, David looked good everywhere, and I think if he's smart, he'll get takedowns on Giga. That's always been Giga's kind of weak area, his takedown defense. I think if this fight completely stayed standing the whole time and it was just striking, I think Giga would have a serious chance. But right now, David in his prime, all the improvements he's been working on, everyone he's been working with, I think he should be able to secure 2 rounds against a 36, almost 37-year-old Giga Chikadze. Get the takedowns when needed, be smart on the feet, and my early lean's got to be David Onama. I know I just pick flipped right now, but I was really thinking about it, and I was like, that takedown defense is really, I think, is going to be the dagger for Giga, because on the feet he can pretty much hang with most people, but Onama's just this young, hungry guy with good takedowns, and Giga's getting up there in age, slowing down a little bit. I think David steals two rounds at least, and I think he's going to implement a good grappling plan here. So yeah, early pick's going to go Onama. I might even see what the over 2.5 looks like on this. It's probably going to be pretty high, because I bet the books will know that. Onama's game plan's probably that too. And yeah, over 2.5, David Onama decision. That's going to be my pick for that one. Co-main event, we got Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Ming Yang Zhang. This is a here's the dog to the lion fight right here, guys. They're trying to give Zhang another knockout, and they couldn't have picked a better candidate for someone at least in the rankings to give him that. That'll oblige with that. Hey, let's throw some hands and see who goes down. It just sucks because this is Anthony's retirement fight. Out of all the big favorites on this card that I think someone can play spoiler on, this is the one though. I think Anthony could be weird and pull something out of his ass, but my early and pretty confident pick is going to be Ming Yang Zhang. You know, much younger, 10 years younger. He's looked like an absolute killer in his last 5 fights. He definitely has more power. He's got the chin, I'd say, because, you know, the age difference right now. And it sucks seeing Anthony go out like this. I thought they might give him someone a little bit different as a retirement fight just to maybe give him a good chance at winning and sailing off into the sunset. But I think Ming Yang Zhang here is going to finish him off for good here, and Anthony's going to be done. And it's got to be first round knockout. That's got to be the pick. Maybe second round if Anthony, survives somehow. Because we've seen Anthony, kind of just hang on to a thread and push himself through the rest of the fight. But I think Ming Yang Zhang is going to get him early. I think the power is just too much. The age is too much. And like I said, the Anthony, out of all the big odd guys on here, he's the only one on here that I think could be that wild spoiler. Just if he somehow shows, hey, man, I've got the experience on you, somehow takes Ming Yang Zhang down, gets his cardio down, kind of makes it an ugly fight, I'd say. Because on the striking, I don't think he has like a real chance. But if he gets super gritty, holds Ming Yang Zhang down, somehow Zhang can't get up, then I could see maybe Anthony, pulling out a weird, crazy upset decision. But the smart, logical pick for me has to be Ming Yang Zhang, early round knockout, maybe round 2, but most likely round 1 knockout. Main event, we got Ian Machado Gary versus Carlos Prats. This is another fight I've been pretty in between on. I think a lot of people are pretty in between on this fight. We got the fighting nerds who look damn near unstoppable. But on the other side, we got Ian Gary who's looked pretty good in all of his fights and looked probably his best ever in that Shavkat fight. Everyone kind of thought that was going to be another feed to the Wolves fight because of what Shavkat had done to everyone. And Ian brought him to his first decision. And not only his first decision, but 5 rounds. He went 5 rounds with him, and he took 2 of those rounds. He gave Shavkat his arguably his hardest fight, besides that Jeff Neal one where he got kind of rocked a little bit. But overall, I think Shavkat was, when I was watching that fight live, I think Shavkat was like, dude, is this guy really going to give me my loss here? But he was able to get those takedowns and that cage control time. Kind of a boring fight versus what people were anticipating. But let me digress and give you guys this pick. It's going to be Prats. It's got to be Prats. I think Gary has the better wrestling from what we've seen so far, but it's hard to imagine Carlos and that entire Fighting Nerds team doesn't realize that, hey, on the feet, you have more power, Gary. You have more power, Carlos. Your striking looks a little cleaner. Besides his chin up in the air, I hate that he keeps his chin up in the air. I think it's waiting for disaster. But I think that whole team is working with Carlos on his takedown defense. I think that's been a huge center of their game plan, working on takedown defense, because I think that's Gary's only way to really win this fight is getting takedowns and holding him. Because on the feet, we saw what happened with Gary and Michael Page. That's right. And he edged that one out with wrestling. He couldn't hang with Page. And if I'm taking Prats over MVP, obviously I'm taking Prats over Gary. And The knockout is tricky to call, but that fight with I'm trying to remember who Ian Gary fought real quick, where he got rocked badly. It was Kenan Song. That's right. Kenan Song had Gary hurt bad. He completely dropped him down to his knees. He props to him that he got back up out of that and kept moving on. But if Song is catching you, I think Protz can definitely catch you. And I think when Protz catches you, it's going to be a different thud. And I have to favor the side of Carlos here with the striking. I think he has legitimate power, and I think that reach is hard for people to mess with. Let's see he's got 3.5 inches here. The height, not really too worried on there, but I think the power, the reach, and just the overall, I think he has just clean striking. Besides, his chin being up, I think he wins a decision here on Gary or potentially a knockout. But early pick is going to have to be Carlos here. I think Gary's path to victory is only going to be the wrestling, which, like I keep saying, I think that entire team knows that, and they're going to be working diligently with Protz on his takedown defense. And when this fight stays standing, I think it's going to be scary for Ian Gary against a guy like Carlos. So my early pick right now is going to be Carlos. I'll go inside the distance. It'd be really hard to see this fight going the distance. So I'm going to do Carlos Protez knockout. I'm not going to pick a round right now. We'll wait to see on any of those more specific predictions once weigh-ins happen and any other news that comes out. But right now, that's going to be the pick. Yeah, Carlos Protez by knockout. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I know it was extremely rough. Still working on getting a complete setup. I don't know if I'm talking to 0 people right now that watch this video or 30 people, but if you guys tune in again, to anyone that might see this in the next video, there's going to be some serious improvements. I'm going to revise this. I'm going to see what I can do to be better on the predictions. But like I said, bear with me, guys. Very first video ever doing something like this. I just enjoy UFC more than any other sport, and I love betting on it as well, obviously. And I think it'd be fun to share my bets and hopefully profit with other people. That's why Profit with Profit's the username. But I'll wrap this up, guys. If anyone sees this, leave any comment, any predictions, anything you disagree with. I'm open to hearing anything. I'm never the type to be like, oh, you pick him and these are your reasons, you're dumb. No, if you leave me a serious prediction with insight, I will be more than open-minded to being like, maybe you're right, and revising what I have and potentially even siding with you. But yeah, guys, anybody that sees this, any comments, any criticism, negative, positive, whatever, please leave it. I very much am interested to see what other people think of my content. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video for what it was. Like I said, I know the breakdowns weren't the greatest. I was just, this is more of an experiment for me right now. I want to keep doing videos, but this being my first video, I want to see what works, what doesn't work. If I should have notes up on it and do full, huge breakdowns, or should I stick to my simplified, in a nutshell videos? That's going to be all for you guys to decide and feedback. But I'm going to wrap this video up, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. First time here, subscribe if you want, or don't. Like the video, or don't. Leave a comment, or don't. But I'll see you guys whenever I see you guys. Take care.